This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Welcome back to a bonus edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Had a great show this morning with the one and only Dave Mercer. Recorded a Best on Tour this week with Dave Rush, and then my phone started blowing up, as I'm sure it did across a lot of the fishing landscape. The long-awaited press release from Bassmaster. Breaking news, FFS rule change announced. And I remember I did kind of a mega show last year. It's a little bit more planned out. I wanted to get some actually initial reaction to this. We are going to kind of read through the press release, and then we're going to bring on a number of Elite Series anglers from across the board, some hybrid scopers, some pure scopers, some power fishermen, and just get their kind of initial reaction to it. This is the world that we live in now at the Bassmaster Elite Series level. I know other leagues have done other things with the MLF, with their kind of hybrid changing on, they have periods, so they're allowed to do it and whatnot. They announced that they're doing 3 hours of forward-facing sonar at a number of different levels. Obviously, the MPFL is a no forward-facing, and it was kind of a waiting game to see what Bassmaster would do for the 2026 season. So I will just run through the highlight. This literally came down the pipeline about 30 minutes ago as of 1:10 p.m. Central Time on September 2nd. Press release from Bass, the worldwide authority on bass fishing, announced an update to its FFS policy that will take effect during the 2026 Elite Series season. Beginning in 2026, forward-facing live sonar will only be permitted in up to 5 of the 9 regular season Elite Series events. Which events allow the technology will be determined randomly. The remaining events will prohibit its use entirely, including during official practice. Restriction implemented the same as far as number of transducers, 55 inches on the screen. The 2026 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic will allow it, which I think is a great rule because they said they earned their spot under the 2025 rules. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The decision follows 2 years of careful evaluation. They have a competition committee. They have a technology committee. We've had members of those technology committees that come on that talked about the screen length, the screen size, the number of transducers, the cost, all of that. It's a number of people who are in Bassmasters. There's some anglers on that. There were votes that went down on it. It says, after 2 years of careful evaluation, 2025 Bass scheduled a diverse set of fisheries to naturally limit FFS dominance, and winners in nearly half of the season's events relied primarily on traditional tactics. However, live sonar still influenced the outcome across the board. Many stakeholders within the bass fishing community, including fans and bass members, continued to voice concerns about live sonar use and its influence in competition. Elite Series anglers through the Angler Board of Professionals, the ABP, also asked for more limitations in the 2026 season. To address the feedback and preserve competitive balance, Bass will blend tradition with technology. They're hosting an FFS live show talking about, and then this is where it also gets interesting. The St. Lawrence River, the final stop of the season, will receive its own coin flip, meaning as many as 5 events could end up being non-FFS tournaments. I skipped over this. On September 4th at 10 a.m., Tommy, Mark, and Davey will be paired with, according to the schedule, a coin flip deciding which events they're allowing live sonar in and which they're not. So we'll pull the schedule up here in a little. Chase Anderson, CEO of Bass, said Bassmaster competition has a long history of being a proving ground for new technology that enhances the sport. While innovation should remain part of bass fishing, no single technology should define it. Listening to anglers, members, and fans, we believe this balanced approach keeps competition diverse, entertaining, and true to the culture of the sport. So with that being said, there's no better kind of initial reaction than to talk to the guys who will be competing under these new rules. Listen, it's hard. Like all these guys, I know it just seems like you just see them on FS1 and on YouTube fishing, but they all have lives outside of it. So I really appreciate all these guys who are going to jump on for this, starting with first off, Lee Livesay. Lee, thank you for jumping on BTL. Can you hear me? I think we had this issue with Lee last time where he didn't have. Can you hear me? No? Yes? No? No audio? I don't think Lee has audio.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. I'm going to remove Lee from the studio. We'll bring Ben in. Ben, do you have audio?
I do have audio. Lee's opinions aren't important anyways. Let's hit it.
Lee's are. So what I wanted to try to do here was get a diverse group of anglers. Now, if I remember, you are a member or were a member? I know last year you were on what they talk about here, the ABP, the Angler Board of Professionals.
Yes, sir.
What has that process been like? Are you still currently on that? And like how? What was the kind of process that you guys have gone through?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird deal, kind of up in the air right now because we formed the group with the ABP and we never got around really to figuring out how we're going to elect in the future or what the terms will be. It was all kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to the kind of crazy changes that got made in the off season last year that we kind of had to form really quick. So that's it's going to kind of be interesting moving forward. I'm not sure what Cruz was our president. I'm not sure what his position is going to be or his influence on it moving forward. And then as of right now, I am not on the Elite Series because I didn't requalify, but it looks like I might be back on if a couple guys retire or double qualify, that type of stuff. Also, Alex Weatherall was on it. He didn't requalify, and I think Menendez as well. So it's kind of like I think we're going to kind of start over and re-vote on that. But yeah, basically what we did this season, we met with Bass 3 or 4 times in person with our group, and we had several phone calls with Bass and meetings with Davey, with Chase, with Lisa, with Bose, and we talked about the forward-facing sonar situation ad nauseum. I was always a little bit frustrated that it seemed like that was the first topic that we decided to tackle, which today seems like a very important one. To me, that seems like one of the less things that are wrong with professional bass fishing for the anglers. So that was kind of a weird situation for me, I guess. And I was also the only one that thought we should keep forward-facing sonar rules as is with being able to use it 100%. So I guess that's kind of my quick opinion and what went on with us.
Ben, this was your second year on the Elite Series. You've had really good success, kind of a weird re-qualifying structure that's a conversation for a different time and a different place. But coming into this, you've always been very transparent with your tournament videos, with your style of fishing. You blend non-forward facing, but forward facing is a big part of your game. Talk about coming up through the Bassmaster Opens, using it and kind of how you think the last 2-3 years class of anglers, the ones that you came up with, will be impacted by this decision after qualifying through the Opens with the use of forward facing, the majority of which are younger anglers who have relied on blending that technique, having that technology at their disposal, and are now at the top level, with this saying potentially 60% of the events it will not be in their arsenal.
Yeah, I would say, you fished the Opens both those years, the last few years, obviously. And, 2 years ago when I qualified, my class qualified, we had a pretty heavy forward-facing sonar type schedule. It just worked out that way, whether they put it together and thought it was going to be that way or not. And then last year on the Elites, we had a very jig head minnow heavy schedule. Just with how everything was put together, it ended up being like that. There wasn't adverse weather conditions that made for a 10-killer type event like we had this year. And then this year, man, they switched it up on us. We had 3 title events in the Elite Series. We had, 4 river tournaments, and then we had 10 killer, which ended up, being not forward facing dominated at all, obviously. And you always know what St. Clair is going to be with forward facing. So, I mean, we kind of skewed towards more without it, I would say, dominating than with it this year on the Elite Series, just the way it was set up. But to kind of go back to your question, I personally think it will have zero effect on the 2 classes that have qualified with the all 9 opens. If you look at the tournament results for tournaments where I just mentioned this year, where it was pretty much a non-factor, I'm going to put myself as an outlier because I finished really terrible a lot of times this year. But no, our class did extremely well in those tournaments, and it comes back to the biggest factor right now is time on the water, which it always has been, and how much time in preparation you're going to spend in the off season. That's why Trey McKinney is who he is. It's a big factor of it, and that's why he's the best fisherman on the Elite Series by far, in my opinion, because he spends 340 plus days on the water, and he spends a month probably, preparing for each event. So this to me was not the move that's going to make any difference in our sport. It's a huge step backwards, in my opinion. If you wanted to actually, have an influence on how these young anglers fish, and these anglers that don't have families, don't have as many sponsorship obligations, you should have taken away pre-practice. That's the biggest factor in determining, how these younger, less experienced guys are going to do when it actually comes around. So I'm frustrated to see it for the sport and for a lot of these guys that, spent so much time in the off season talking about payouts and where the industry is right now, which is in a very low place. I know that from a lot of different hats that I wear. Mm-hmm. We're cutting off the hand that feeds us with hundreds of thousands of dollars in electronics company, mount company sponsorship. And also, I mean, we're flat out going to lose out on that with payouts. So hopefully everyone that cried about it on Facebook in the comment section is happy about it now.
One more question, I'll let you go. Like I said, I greatly appreciate you jumping on, kind of spur of the moment thing, but no secret that you're with Sixth Sense. You've developed a lot of forward-facing sonar baits that I would imagine, just being in the industry, take kind of years to come to market. Was it the Master Series, that type of stuff? Do you think that this decision will impact those companies that have gone heavy forward-facing sonar on their offerings over the last couple of years, especially after what we saw with Dice, with minnows, with jig heads, with spinning rods and things at this past ICAST?
I would say more now than ever. Top-level professional fishing has a very, very small influence on what products sell in the industry. I'm just going to flat out say it. So, no, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I do see a problem, again, the other way. Like if we'll just hypothetically say that some governing force banned live scope altogether in the entire country, I think it'd be pretty silly to think that, guys are going to go out and buy out every crankbait and jig and hard bait that's out there on the market. It's kind of a silly idea that it's going to make that big of an impact. I've seen that argument over and over, and I just completely disagree with it. But no, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
All right, Nebraska didn't look too bad last week.
We'll take it. 1-0.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it, man.
You bet.
All right, there it is, Ben. Now let's bring old Lee Livesay back in, see if he's got it. You got the audio now, Lee?
I got the audio now.
You can hear me. All right. You heard a little bit about Ben there, multiple Elite Series winner. We've seen you win on Fork, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, and then we'll bring another guest on here, a little bit of juxtaposition. I see him down in the queue there, but you seem to be one of those guys, and I just want to start off on Fork from the beginning. Dominant, game plan, knows what to do, and then over the last couple of years watching it, it seems like there's like other things that have come into play there. We saw what Tucker did with 127 pounds and things like that on Fork. Like, your initial thoughts on that? How much does this change the game going back to a coin flip for every event now?
I mean, it changes a lot, obviously. Like Ben said, we had a pretty even kill schedule this year.
Everyone's phones is going to be going off like nuts now, I'm sure.
That's Ben. I was talking shit about.
Oh, okay.
The want to know who they play, UL Monroe.
Yeah.
It changed a lot. It's good. It's good. Ben's going to be Ben. Austin Felix is going to be Austin Felix. I'm sure. I don't know who else you said you had on here. I think maybe.
I got a number of guys on. It depends. We've got people at doctor's appointments, people in town, people that are coming. We got another one waiting, but I wanted to get your take first before I bring him in.
Yeah, I like it. It's what the anglers voted for overwhelmingly. Over 70% of the vote of the anglers wanted to change in forward facing. We actually voted to ban it as a group, and Bass met us in the middle and just did the 50-50 deal. I was kind of back and forth on that 50-50, obviously ban kind of guy, but I use it too. Just it's not like I don't have it on my boat. I'm not Cox. I use it, and I do really good in tournaments. I won a lot of money with my Humminbird Mega Live too this year. So it's good for the sport. It's technology is getting so strong, and these guys are getting so good that, would we want to see an AOI that catches every single fish off of a monitor one day? That could be a possibility one day, and I'm just saying that out loud because that could happen one day the way it was going. And I don't want to see that personally, but it's good for everything. Ben Milliken's still going to beat me at lacrosse frogging one day. We're still going to see Koyo beat Hackney flipping one day. We're going to see both of it still. Like Ben said, I think he was talking about Trey. I didn't hear everything he said, but these kids are good because they're spending 300 plus days a year on the water. It's not just the electronics. So you're still going to see Trey dominate. You're still going to see Ben do good, and Emil Wagner is still going to beat your ass at Lanier without it. Places that these guys are good and spend time on, they're still going to be dominant. It's not going to change a lot. It's just going to allow us to see a little bit of old school fishing and not rely on looking at dots.
All right, a little juxtaposition here. Let's bring in from the Bassmaster Classic. You guys went head to head this year. Exceptionally talented angler, but we saw how you competed on Ray Roberts Lee for the title. We saw how Easton did it. Easton, you just wrapped up a really good rookie season on the Bassmaster Elite Series. What are your thoughts when this dropped an hour ago? Does this, Lee, it seems it gets to fish the way that he has fished for a long time. Is this a complete 180 for you going forward? What's going on in your head? We know how analytical it is when you come to breaking water down.
Yeah, I guess for me, fishing wise, I honestly don't care if I have it or not. Like past guys have said, it's time on the water that separates you, and the preparation you do leading up to the event. It's not what you have on your boat that separates you. In terms of like Bassmaster as an organization, I'm just kind of confused by what they did here. I feel like they had the perfect thing of having scope, but having a diverse schedule to combat the scope. Like Chris Johnson this year, Trey McKinney, we got to watch both of them, lots of flipping, lots of bait casters and that sort of thing. And, they had scope on their boat. Neither of them used it, 100% of the season. So I guess in that sense, I'm just a little bit confused on why they chose to do this. I mean, we voted on it, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I thought we were kind of in a perfect spot of diverse schedules and also having scope, but now we're 50-50 with a diverse schedule. So, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of curious on how this next season will go, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Lee, do you have any, was there any talk of how it would be decided? Like if it was voted on, it was heading that way, or is this kind of coin flip, or especially on the last one, and then kind of a random selection throughout the year? Is that kind of a wrench that no one saw coming?
I mean, we talked about it in all of our meetings, but it wasn't anything that we were biased towards. We were just kind of like, do you do it towards forward-facing strong events like St. Lawrence River, or does that piss off the guys that want to do something else there, it's kind of biased to somebody else there, or do you do it random draw, coin flip? I mean, we talked about it all in our meetings, and Bass was the ultimate decider in that. And we did talk about coin tosses. That was one of the things that I think I brought it up. I was like, why not coin toss it and make a show about it? Get some attention if that's what we're going to go with. So that was all Bass's final decision on that part of it, deciding.
Easton, both you and Lee have thousands and thousands of hours on the water, which is why you have a lot of trophies and a lot of titles. However, I would have to say, like, your development as you went through and made the Elite Series, you've used forward facing sonar. It has been an option for you with that time on the water. How do you think that changes now with having, do you feel like you're going to have to relearn practice strategies, relearn breaking down water, not because you can't see them, but just because that's been a tool that has been in your arsenal? You're what, 23, 24, 23 since you began fishing at that higher level, of particular over the past 4 or 5 years, as you went to these fisheries that you weren't familiar with, broke it down, learned and practiced that. Like, how much does that impact you as an angler?
I guess to me, I view it as an efficiency machine. It does unlock kind of a new population of fish that you obviously won't be able to, target. But for me, more often than not, I'm using it to throw at a stick, a brush pile, a grass line, that sort of thing. It just allows me to put my bait exactly where I want it every single time. And, when you take that away, it just takes away an aspect of, of efficiency from the whole field, which is fine. You just have to find other ways to be more efficient than the rest of your field and the rest of your competitors. So that's the way I look at it. You take it away from me, it'll be gone from everyone. So everyone's still on a level playing field. So like I said, I'm kind of indifferent about it. So that's kind of the way I view about LiveScope.
I think it makes people like Easton like even scarier though. Like every time I open up an Instagram story, Easton's on Mille Lacs or something like, I'm serious. Can you imagine Corey and Chris at the St. Lawrence River now without scope?
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's what I'm comparing Easton to, like where he lives on stuff like that. Like Chris and Corey are going to be dominant. They know every rock that they get on without having to look at it with forward facing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's gonna change some of the guys' minds when they go out there and win without it, like Easton will without it, like Trey McKinney will without it. It's the guys are good. I know we've already said it 5 times, but these guys are good, like Easton is, from time on the water. When they spend time on the water without it, they're still going to be just as good.
Fair enough. All right. Like I said, I wanted to get a bunch of different guys on to get their opinions. So thank you very much for jumping on. I've got a couple other guys. I've got some guys. You guys are more than welcome to stay on, or you can just go on with your live. But we got another classic champ that I wanted to bring in. That's the one and only Jordan Lee. What's up, Joe Lee?
What's up, guys? Good looking crew there. Good looking crew there. I'm just listening. I've enjoyed listening to y'all.
Hey, dude, I look at you as somewhat in the middle. You're a guy who came up. We saw you in the Auburn jersey, hold up 2 giants from Lake Gunnersville that you almost won the Classic with, flipping. You fished every format in every tour across the country. You've won at every single level. There are times where we watch you throw a frog and it looks like you hate forward facing. There's other times where we see you out there looking at the screen and it looks like you're, a young Easton Fothergill out there scoping.
I wouldn't go that far.
What are your thoughts in this?
It's an interesting dynamic because I think there is, just from a pro fishing standpoint, because I'm sitting here listening to Lee and Easton and a couple different fishing styles. I know it's going to be divided from a pro angler standpoint, right? Because like you said, Easton has grown up, and not saying that Easton's against it or for it, but not speaking for him, but the younger generation has came up with it, obviously, and has learned fishing and has pretty much dominated fishing from that standpoint. Whereas the guys, like my age and going forward, learned a different strategy of tournament fishing and until it started to really dominate. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but I think from a fan standpoint, that's what I'm going to be curious to see, because that's what drives our sport. The tackle industry and the fans really push our sport. It's not it's really not all about us in the end too. It's how can we how can we entertain and entertain and just make fishing fun, right? So I think if it's a positive, we won't really know, but if more people kind of tune in, or there's more interaction at certain tournaments, there may not be as much interaction. It'll be interesting. I think people will watch no matter what, if there was forward facing or not. But I think from a fan standpoint alone, I feel like I have overall seen maybe a little step down in, not viewership, because I don't know the numbers, but people may be getting really interested in tournaments, and maybe that's just because there's so many tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be curious to see what it does. But I mean, personally, for me, I have caught fish with forward facing sonar, but I'm not the best at it. It is getting more of a challenge each year. It's getting harder to do each year because the fish are getting used to seeing baits. So it's, I think overall though, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because it'll be a challenge. It's a challenge every year, with technology, without technology. I mean, we were just at St. Clair where it was hard to catch one, and we could see all the fish that were out there. I could barely even catch a bass. So if we went there again, that would be interesting. I think the fans would tune in to be like, well, how they may think we're not that great of fishermen, because, somebody's always going to figure them out, though.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what or where or how, it doesn't matter. Whether we can see them or not, somebody's going to run 100 miles and catch a, big limit of fish. So I think it'll be interesting.
I mean, it kind of seems what you said, kind of open it up, Easton, to like, you just want a fair competition with it. Without it, you'll figure out how to catch them.
Yeah, pretty much. That's where I'm
All
at.
right. Lee mentioned another angler early on, and I thought, it'd be great to have him on. He's with another Elite Series guy. They're on the water. They only have a couple minutes to chat. But I would like to bring Emil Wagner into the show now. The Great Dane, right?
Yep, I guess so.
All right, Emil. In my head, covering this sport, I fish against you in the opens. You're part of the AFCO Bass Boot Camp. You are a scoper. Spotted bass, Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
You've talked about the impact that it's had on those blueback fisheries out east. Initial reactions when this dropped an hour ago, that this is a 50-50, potentially a 60-40 thing for you moving into your next season on the Elite Series.
Yeah, I'd kind of been thinking about it a lot the last few weeks, and then I don't know that we never really heard anything, or like it seemed like nobody really knew the answer, so I'd legitimately forgot about it. And I'm out here on Smith and hadn't had much service, and then one of my roommates, Paul, just called me and told me, so it kind of caught me off guard. But it doesn't surprise me. I figured they'd do either 50-50 or leave it the way it was, and I would have been cool either way. I mean, as long as there's a diverse schedule and it makes sense, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think it'll be cool too from like a AOY standpoint. The guy who wins that, he's going to have to catch them with it, and he's going to have to catch them without it. But I'm glad they didn't totally ban it. I really enjoy using it, and our fisheries have changed so much. Like so many of these places, like Jordan just mentioned, St. Clair, like you would have to figure out some crazy off the wall ways to catch them, because I don't know if you went out there floating in the middle of Anchor Bay, I don't even know if you could catch one anymore without it.
How does this impact? Let's take your home lake. I know you guide. Like, let's take a Hartwell for instance.
Yeah.
Put the Elite Series anglers on Hartwell with no forward-facing sonar, following major team tournaments with forward-facing sonar. You've talked about, a lot of the guys have talked about, Easton's talked about the fish kind of changing, relating, being tougher to catch to. Are we going to go back and see true grinder tournaments and tournaments where over the last 5 years, 100% of the field has seen a limit?
Yeah, 100%. And like, you're going to see like a Hartwell, for example. Let's say we went in February. You may see local weights in local tournaments where 21, 22 wins and it takes 16 to get a check. But without scope, I mean, it's a totally different deal. It used to be you could go out there and throw a fish head spin down the center of a ditch, and if a fish saw it, it was probably going to come over there and eat it. Now those same fish that hardly ever saw baits, or at least didn't see them presented correctly, they're already hard enough to catch when you hit them perfect and throw the exact bait you want, the exact size. So catching them without forward facing in certain situations, I think, is going to be extremely difficult. So I think you're going to see in the no scope tournaments, if it's somewhere where you traditionally catch them offshore, I think you're going to see a lot of guys not even do it because those fish are just so pressured now. They're going to be insanely hard to catch. There's still certain scenarios where you could catch them, like, Lanier and Hartwell. You can still catch them dragging a worm. And, if you really know your lineups, a lot of the local advantage is going to come back. Like, you take the Johnstons, for example, on St. Lawrence. Like, they know all those one-cast current places and know exactly how to pull up on everything. So if it's an offshore tournament and you're a local, you're probably still going to be able to catch them. But if you don't know, the exact places they set up or the super specifics, I think it's gonna make it pretty tough.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for jumping on. Get back after it. Go scope up some Big Smith Lake spotties.
All right, will do. Appreciate it.
All right, see ya. There it is. Emil Wagner. Lee, do you agree with what Emil said about the local kind of advantage coming back potentially in some of these scenarios?
For sure. We already talked about that. If we go to Mille Lacs, Easton's going to know every rock where they get on them. He's not going to catch 50 of them now. He's going to catch 5 of them. That's all he needs.
How has that changed on Fork for you? I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. I didn't really give you a chance to answer that. Like the last time or two at Fork, has that impacted your tournament strategy and how you fish, do you think, knowing how a lot of the other guys were catching their fish and how you like to and learn to fish out there?
Oh yeah, but it's not that easy. It's you can look at the list at Fork this year, and a lot of the scopers didn't do good. I'm just a stubborn old mule, and I won't do what I know is going to win before I get there. I'm that bad. So no, it changes everything, But it's what we want to see. It is the fans and anglers, not all the anglers. But, if we didn't have forward facing at Fork this year, you would have seen a lot of guys smashing frogs, swim jigs, flipping, some cool stuff. So I think it's good. It's going to be 50-50 for a reason, so we can see a little bit of everything.
There you go. All right. I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate 40 minutes of your time. I'm going to let you go and carry on with the rest. You have like hogs or something to kill, I'm sure.
Yep. Thank you.
Bush lights to drink, all sorts of stuff. All right. See you, Lee. All right. Lee Livesay. All right. We're back with Easton and Jordan here. So I'm curious how important Easton, this draw is going to have to be important on the alternate on whether you can or can't. I think this brings a lot more thinking into the season. You look at the schedule here, and you might be able to have forward-facing sonar on the Arkansas River, but not on Lake Gunnersville. That's got to be real hard to practice and prepare for a season. You're a pre-practice guy. If you go to these fisheries beforehand, how do you do that now?
A place like Arkansas River, in my eyes, it's not going to be one scoping whether the field has it or not. So I feel like if you want to win on the Arkansas River, your tactics don't really change. Obviously, Gunnersville is a very different story, but it will change some stuff, I guess, for some places, but some places it won't in my eyes. So it's definitely an interesting curveball, though. Definitely to prepare in preparation for next season.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it said it exactly in there, whether you guys will know. Do you know if you guys will know which are scope and which are not scope? I say that interchangeably. Scope is like Cinco now. Which are scope and not scope before the cutoff for pre-practice?
Yeah, I think we'll know soon. I didn't read the full email. I mean, I've gotten bombarded since the announcement came out.
Do you know that, Joe? If
Yeah.
you guys will?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. From what I could tell, from what I read, because I didn't, when you text me, I didn't even have my phone. I didn't even know. I just barely saw where they had announced something. But I think September 4th, pretty sure is what it said. They were going to do the drawing for the 4 lakes, and then St. Lawrence was going to be
a coin flip.
I don't know if they're going to do that, when they're going to do that. Maybe September 4th too. But September
okay, yeah.
4th,
Bass will reveal which tournaments will allow FFS during the live show on September 4th at 10 a.m. Central Time with Tommy, Mark, and Davey Height. Okay, so there you go. So then you guys will know which are and which aren't.
Right.
You picked an interesting time to break onto the scene, Easton.
It is a crazy time in professional fishing.
All right, I'm going to let you go, and then I'll just wrap things up with Jordan Lee. Anything else you want to get in here? I greatly appreciate your time, effort. Like I said, to call you, spur of the moment, and jump on. I can't thank you enough to get your perspective.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya. All right, I won't keep you very long because I know you got all sorts of stuff going on, Joe, but pretty wild. Like, pretty wild. I didn't see this coming. I'm going to be honest. I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like MLF obviously has changed a lot, and I feel like for them, this has nothing to do with MLF, but for them, it's been a huge positive to limit it. I think overall, I mean, because when I was fishing there, man, it was just like negativity blowing everywhere, and all of a sudden, it just seemed like, man, all that kind of went away, and you still saw a lot of the same guys dominate. And so I don't know if it's going to change a lot from that, but it will be interesting. We go to smallmouth fisheries all the time. I mean, for the people who are watching, we all know the minnow. We all know this. We all, this is all plays. If you just completely scratch that, you have to go figure out something new. That's what makes it exciting. I don't think you're going to, that's what it's about to me anyways. I like not really knowing what's going into a tournament or going into a season. That's what makes it fun. Just to have a little bit of that, kid in you where you just don't know what to expect. I think that brings a little bit of this out. I think guys worry a little too much that are fishermen too about, oh, I don't know if I can catch them here or there. I think a lot of people worry about their future and this and that. But for me, it's more of just being a kid and being excited about, okay, let's say we don't go to Champlain or wherever for, I mean, it'll be something totally different that's going to win. So it'll bring some excitement back into it.
Will the coin flip for a February 5th through 8th, 2026 Bassmaster Elite Series on Lake Gunnersville not completely alter the outcome of that tournament? It seems like there's guys who are going to catch it, but I mean, dude, like that is a 180 as the two tournaments that we're going to see there.
Gunnersville is the one, if they don't change it and it is a forward-facing tournament, you're going to see all the top 10 with all forward-facing baits, whether it's minnows, jerk baits. That's probably all you're going to see. You're going to see mainly spinning rods on the deck, guys throwing at fish, suspended, deep, shallow, doesn't matter, and there's going to be some really giant bags, and a lot of them probably. You take it away, it turns into a little bit more of a grind, one of those old school Zell Rowland, Marizu tournaments back in early February. You're going to see the red rattle traps play. You're going to see the chatterbaits. You're going to see this. You're going to see the weights not be as high at the top, but you're going to, you may see jigs come back into play. Like, a lot of different. You're not going to see minnows and jerk baits near as much. So it'll just be a different tournament. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be 180 for sure.
It's just wild to me. Like, so the coin flip, you could also end up with Gunnersville, yes. Lake Martin, yes. Tom Bigby, Arkansas River, no. And then Santee Cooper, no. And then really it would just come down to, Albemarle Sound, Champlain, and Murray. So it's amazing how like a drawing, a random flip or anything is going to determine Angler of the Years, Bassmaster Classics, careers. I mean, that's the reality of it with this schedule. There's somewhere it will not impact it much. There's others where it will greatly impact it.
For sure, and I think guys will have to adjust. Like, I mean, it's just going to be. But here's the thing, too: the fans they don't really care if it takes 80 pounds or 90 pounds to win a tournament, or they want to take something in from a tournament and to be entertained, and they want to learn something, right? I think that's what to me is going to be exciting, and hopefully there will be, a positive impact from this. Maybe not impact, but there'll be some positive that come from it. But it's going to change everything for sure. That's something to look forward to. I mean, for a lot of guys, it's maybe not because, and I understand that. Like all of the younger kids coming up have fished with it, but at the same time, you got a lot of the old heads too who've fished their whole lives without it, and then a lot of fans who fish without it. So just it's a mix up. So we'll see.
Last question. Does this solve anything, or does this just perpetuate the same problems or issues, the same conversations, the same
I think it solves a lot. I think it solves, I mean, I'm not going to say a lot. It's basically a 50-50 split between technology and not having technology. You still, they didn't say anything about. I mean, live sonar. Let's just. I don't want to jump into anything, but live sonar has changed the sport 100%, from local tournaments to the top level. Taking this away, you see somebody like a John Cox, though. I'm not going down a rabbit hole here, but he's still in the top 10. He ate it in the points without it. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be plenty of fish caught. You just may see a different tournament outcome when it comes to winning weight and how guys are catching them. That's all that's going to change. Different baits, more rods on the deck. Maybe not just the same, 5 to 8 inch minnows on the deck at certain tournaments. You just may see a totally different array of rods, and that's pretty much going to be it. So, I mean, to me personally, I like it. I think they did a fair half. They didn't go one way or another. They didn't completely ban it. So that's where I stand on it.
Are you in like Greenland or Antarctica or something?
Yeah, Alabama. Now, Emil said he was on Smith. It looked sunny and like he was getting blinded by the sun. I live like 20 minutes from the lake, and it's like cloudy and rainy here. I've been out running errands, and I got my rain jacket on.
Dude, I can't appreciate it enough. Like I said, you came home, you jumped on. You've done that a number of times for me on BTL. I greatly appreciate it. Your valued opinion and voice in the professional fishing world. So always a pleasure when you jump on.
No, man, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya. All right, there you go. You have heard from a number of different anglers on a number of different sides. Lee Livesay, Jordan Lee, Emil Wagner, Easton Fothergill, Ben Milliken. It's going to take some time to kind of digest and figure this out. As someone who makes a living in the media that talks about this, that covers this, content-wise, it's fantastic. There will be shows that are built around this. There will be a lot of discussions, especially, as this one is a forward-facing event. This one isn't. forward-facing event. As far as the division within the industry of the scope is bad, scope is good crowd, this to me just adds gasoline to the fire. It is not it's not a stance. It is not a position to take. It is just going to perpetuate that discussion down the line, instead of just saying, hey, this is what it is, this is what it isn't. It's kind of too new to see how this will impact as far as, personal opinions, all that. I think you got to let the guys who have, at least in today's show, the blue trophies, the classic trophies, the angler of the year, like all that, just kind of take that for what it's worth. I thought everybody had some great viewpoints, and not bad for throwing a show together. But hey, you wanted a little bit of off-season discussion. We got a little bit of off-season discussion. So Chad Pipkins on tomorrow's show, which is Wednesday, September 3rd. Breaking edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.